Hi. So yesterday I cooked breadfruit, also known as ulu. I've got a landlord who offered or told me about the neighbor who said they don't really use the breadfruit in this huge tree that they've got in the front yard. Um, Noticed that one didn't get used and it fell down, made a huge mess, lots of bugs, it had cracked open, was super ripe, therefore lots of gnats and stuff. So landlord was pretty much like, hey, if you want to, you're more than welcome to. It showed us the backyard and was like, hey, here's this tool you guys can just use to cut it off. Because I was like, I looked up and I was like, how do we get that? Like, I can't reach. It was pretty high up in the air. So my boyfriend helped me. We got the tool to cut the breadfruit stem off of the tree, which I think was maybe like this thick, maybe like an inch thick stem. Landlord said that once you start seeing white spots on the breadfruit, he heard that it was ready to go. I haven't really looked into it all that much, but I cooked it. It was fine. It's delicious, so I would go with that. Looks very, very green. I would not have known whether or not it was ready or not. But so the breadfruit was very, very green. The sap had started to show through the skin a little bit, just a little bit, not too much. When it was cut, it fell heavily to the ground, and my mistake was trying to catch that thing. When you're cutting it off the stem, first of all, I didn't know where the angle was going to go, but I was still like I didn't want it to completely break open when it hit the ground like the other ripe one had, which it didn't hit the ground. It felt like on a trash can handle and it like cracked in half, so that might be a difference there. But this breadfruit hit the ground. It bounced off my hand, which hurt. I would not recommend trying to catch those things. A little pokey. It's a little pokey. Unless you're trying to get some acupuncture on your hands, but don't recommend trying to catch it. Let it drop to the ground, should be fine. Maybe someone else has other experiences or recommendations, I don't know. But so anyways, took this thing inside, made some room in the kitchen, cut it open, was big mess, got sap everywhere. Actually, it wasn't so much of a big mess, it just left sap everywhere. Would recommend having oil ready. We have some pretty good quality olive oil and coconut oil, so I kind of wish I had some like cheap vegetable oil or something that I could use to just like coat my hands. I'd recommend actually coating the hands before even handling the breadfruit if it's coming directly off the tree, because my hands were a sticky mess when I got inside. I didn't even want to touch anything because just a few ants. Luckily, not too many ants, but they were crawling all over the breadfruit. I'm assuming they were attracted to the sap, and I was trying to avoid touching anything in the house because I do not like no bugs, no aunties. I love my aunties, but not the aunties, So, would recommend having like a cheap vegetable or whatever oil in the house. So coat your hands, put a coat of oil on whatever knife you're going to use and the cutting board and whatever bowl you're going to put it in. I had it in a bowl. I guess you could put it on a big napkin, or I had it sitting on a paper bag too, which could be disposed of pretty easily. So to cut it, to me it kind of reminded me of cutting a pineapple. So I cut it lengthwise, and I had seen a YouTube video and how they cut it and peeled it, and so I started doing it like that. So you want to cut, it's got a core that you want to cut out similar to a pineapple. They used what's it called, those paring knives. I'm not too fond of the paring knives, and I'm not all that sophisticated with my cutting, so I don't cut things very well. My hands, like a lot of other people do. I do almost everything exclusively on the cutting board. So I cut mine lengthwise, and then I cut it in half, and then I was able to like sit it upright so that it was pretty stable on the cutting board, and then I carved off the skin, the outer skin. And then I cut it into little wedges like you would a cantaloupe or something, and then I'd cut the core out. It was easier to cut the core out when they were thinner pieces, like maybe, what is that, like 2 or 3 inches thick wedges. Probably no more than 2 inch thick-ish. Like, can you see that? Something like that. Then it's pretty easy to slice out the core. Any bigger than that, I would recommend using a paring knife. It's just easier. Otherwise, you're cutting into the breadfruit and you're kind of like throwing it away. But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. For all the work that goes into cutting these things, I'm not trying to waste any of it. So, it's got a lot of seeds inside. Cutting through the seeds wasn't too bad. Definitely gave you some resistance, but I think if you just got a good, like, I'd put the wedges up, then I'd hold it down, and then I'd cut through. Just make sure your fingers are out of the way. You should be fine. And then I'd like pick all the seeds out pretty quickly. Like once I did the first quarter of it, the rest of it was pretty much mechanical. Do it much faster and got it done quicker, but be careful. And let's see. Oh, I had a bowl and a big pot of salt water ready to put the breadfruit pieces in so that they didn't oxygenate or turn brown. Did I say that word right? The oxidation, they turn pretty nasty brown. So putting it in the water, actually I think reverted most of them. They looked pretty in the water. So I recommend that, having that ready. And you know, my first time I tried 2 different ways. I tried having one big pan where I put a little bit of olive oil and some minced garlic, and I tried sauteing it like I saute almost everything in this world. That was taking too long. Like, I think the recipes I've seen on YouTube for people that do fry breadfruit, it's one of those you gotta use a lot of oil kind of things, and I don't like using that much oil. We use a lot of oil. I don't like using that much oil in one dish. So I'm just to do right now. So I've got our 2 burners. So on one burner I had the pan going, which after a while it had cooked, and you can see the cooking progress. You can see the difference in color. Once it starts to cook, it turned a very bright yellow versus creamy whitish yellow color. So it was plain to me that it wasn't fully cooking through in the pan. On the second burner that I had it boiling, like huge amount. Like this breadfruit created like lots, high yield food item. So that boiled pretty well, like, and I tasted it. It was really good. So I decided to, once that batch was done, I just drained the water, and I put it away, put it in containers, popped it in the fridge, and then I took what was in the pan, I put it in the pot, and I put that to boil too. And with that batch, that one actually came out really yummy because it had the oil and the garlic and stuff and the salts, which I was trying to make sure I didn't over salt it because the water already had salt in there. So that batch I actually mashed up, which wasn't too hard. I just like chopped it very aggressively, and it had a very interesting texture. Like if you're making bread and it all comes together in the end, or like Play-Doh, kind of like something like that. It's hard to describe. I haven't taro root poi. I haven't had poi yet, but it looked like that. But yeah, so I pretty much made a mashed potato with it, and I had that this morning for breakfast with a boiled egg, and it was really good. Even refrigerated, I didn't even heat it up. I just ate it straight out the fridge. We don't tend to use the microwave much. So that was really good. I highly recommend it. I would say just kind of like watch a video where you can see it. Think that so you have a better understanding of what to do, and make sure you're comfortable handling it, because you do need to use some force in getting it cut, and you want to make sure you have a good stable surface when you're cutting that thing. Safety, knives and safety and such. But it's totally worth it. It was really good. I'm wondering if these things can be put into a crock pot submersed in water, or does it need to be submersed in water? Maybe just enough water to get it steamed off. Like, I'm wondering if you can just cook it in a crock pot and then just shred it afterwards, because it was a lot of hard labor. Like, my chopping hand was hurting after a while. But it was really good. Our breadfruit experience was pretty exciting. Like, I was really excited yesterday. I wasn't expecting to have that. Like, I've seen it around the island a lot, and I've been pretty intimidated. But I mean, someone offered it to me for free, and I was like, yeah, we'll definitely taking it. I'll figure it out. And they asked me, they were like, do you know what to do with that? And I was like, I don't know, but there's YouTube. I'll figure it out. I can follow directions. I can make it happen. I remember when I first cutting a pineapple, for some reason, was also really intimidating to me, and then I did it, and then once you figure out, just cut it either lengthwise or then halfwise. I tend to cut it into smaller pieces, so length and half, and if that's uncomfortable, cut it in half again into something manageable for how you work, for your process, your hand, for how you hold things. Is just make it work for you. Videos I see on YouTube, people get fancy out there. People are very experienced in the kitchen. I've been experimenting in cooking for a long time now, but I'm not no fancy with peeling things like my family is. They peel things, like they cut towards them, like they can have it in their hands, and I don't know. I'm not all that fancy. I like my cutting boards. I like stability. And yeah, so sorry if I rambled too much, but hope this helps. Wasn't really planning on the breadfruit thing, so I didn't exactly have the video thing set up, but maybe one day I'll get a video up. Comment, like, whatever, if you want to see a video of that. All right, I'm out. Bye.